Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, How to Improve the Customer Experience Journey Using Online Qualitative. I'm Audrey, and I'll be your MC for this presentation. At the end of the webinar, we'll have time for a Q&A, so if at any time during the presentation you have questions you'd like to ask, please submit them in the questions box and we'll save them for the end. Now, I'd like to introduce you to our host, Digsite. Digsite is the leading solution for agile consumer insights. With Digsite, you can recruit and engage with your target consumers in as little as 24 hours. Beyond getting rapid feedback, Digsite can capture the context of consumer experiences, answer why questions, and help you quickly iterate on concepts and ideas. Teams can effectively scale qualitative research to impact more decisions and cut research timelines by 50% or more. Now, let me introduce you to our speakers. Monica is the CEO and co-founder of Digsite, an agile qualitative research platform. She has more than 20 years of marketing, innovation, and market research experience. Daniel has worked as a customer experience coach since 2014 and has 18 years of experience in roles spanning digital marketing, software engineering, and business process improvement. He primarily works with medium to large high-tech financial services and retail organizations with a focus on improving business performance by focusing on customers and the customer experience. Now, here's Daniel.
All right, thanks so much, Audrey. I appreciate that introduction. All right, I've been excited to co-present here with Monica and really appreciate the opportunity to work with the Digsite team. I think we've been working together for 3 or 4 years, and just a quick shout out, they've been really great at helping somebody like me go from an awkward newbie using Digsite to somewhat of a power user. And my customers really, or my clients really love it when they're able to see the customer insights they receive when we use Digsite. Now, I want to also thank everybody for joining today. And if you joined today because you wanted to learn more about Digsite and how to use online qualitative tools to improve the customer experience, you're definitely in the right place. But you may have also joined because you've been tasked in your organization with proving the value of customer experience or driving a customer-centric culture. Or maybe you're just looking for more cost-effective ways to do research that doesn't totally deplete your budget so that you don't have anything left over to implement improvements. Whatever your reason, chances are, if you're on this call, you consider yourself a customer experience professional or a customer experience researcher. So I did just a little bit of research before today and looked up customer experience related jobs on LinkedIn, and it's interesting and intriguing to see the results. Over 2,000 results for customer experience strategist jobs. And this is a global search around the world. Almost 9,000 hits for customer experience director. And now this starts to blow my mind a little bit. If you search on customer journey, 47,000 results. And then this really encouraging number, almost 57,000 results for customer experience insights. And what are some of the common threads or themes or skills or responsibilities that they're looking for? They're looking for leadership of folks who can lead cross-group efforts to improve the customer experience. Trying to understand the customer journey and all the interactions and perceptions of a company or brand, gathering voice of the customer feedback and turning that into actionable insights that can be used to actually improve the experience. Being able to lead experience design work and feed requirements and designs into implementation teams. And also putting measurement systems in place so that companies can understand how well the customer experience is performing in the eyes of their customers based on their customers' expectations. So just a lot going on. Now, what's driving all this focus on customer experience and all the hiring around customer experience? Is it just hype, or is there something going on? Now, can you recall back, I guess it's been almost a couple decades, but can you recall to the first time you used Google or the first time you used Google as a verb that was synonymous with doing an online search? Can you recall the first time you held an iPhone or an Android phone in your hand, or the first time you shopped on Amazon? Can you imagine having to go to the store, drive to the store every time you need to buy something? It's amazing how much our lives have changed since these things have come into play. And these are the granddaddies of customer experience innovation. Really, they've laid the foundation for other products and services like Netflix and Uber, Airbnb, and others that have really reset our expectations about what's possible in a digital world and also the digitally enhanced physical world that we live in. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but CX is no hype. It is the real deal. It's not just these disruptive brands and innovative experiences from the Apples and the Amazons and the Netflixes of the world. There's other systems and professional services in place, platforms, NPS, online surveys, the ability to do closed loop customer feedback and analytics using different platforms. And these are all designed and touted to help organizations understand, measure, and improve customer experience. And with all the disruption and the competitive advantage achieved by providing a better customer experience, executives and employees are all realizing that it's not enough to talk the talk. We've really reached an inflection point where most organizations are either looking into CX or actively building CX capabilities. And if they're not, they're willfully ignoring CX at their own peril. And we don't really have to look much further than some of the recent headlines to see how true this is. Last November, just before going public, Qualtrics announced that they were being acquired by SAP for $8 billion. That's $8 billion. And then even more recently, last month, in fact, Medallia filed their IPO at $21 a share. 1 week later, it jumped to $43 a share. And even amidst this recent market volatility that we've been seeing, it hasn't traded below $36 a share since the first day of trading. Then just on August 5th, SurveyMonkey announced that it was acquiring Get Feedback for $68 million. It's interesting and noteworthy that both SurveyMonkey and Get Feedback, one of their largest stakeholders or shareholders is Salesforce. Just a week or two ago, there was this great tweet from Qualtrics. 81% of customers surveyed plan to increase their CX investment in the next year. So these companies and these services are available, and our organizations are really starting to put their money where their mouth is. But let's take a quick step back and talk about what CX actually is. And it seems like every technology company, every customer feedback platform is touting their platforms and services, and they're telling all of us that buying our products and services is going to help you improve your customer's experience. And digital transformation is big, and I think it kind of goes hand in hand with customer experience. So every consultancy, every system integrator, every service provider, big or small, are basically selling digital transformation with the promise that it's going to drive competitive advantage, and they're going to be able to implement slick new digital touch points that are going to put your customers in control, make their experience easier, more enjoyable, and more effective. And that's all great, but I want to use a simpler definition of what CX is. I'm going to define it as all the ways customers interact with your company and products to achieve their goals and the way they perceive your company and their interactions with you. So CX management would be the way that your company applies resources to systematically manage and improve the customer experience and their perceptions, with the logical goal of increasing acquisition, retention, and therefore revenue as they create experiences that meet or exceed the customer's expectations. Sorry, I'm just moving a couple of screens around here. Hang on a second. Okay. Now, for any of you who have spent time in product management related roles or teams, I would actually go as far as to say that customer experience is the new product. And I would even predict that customer experience management will become the new product management in terms of the ways that companies go about creating, managing, and improving the customer experience. Now, in the early days of CX, long before the Qualtrics acquisition, the Medallia IPO, there was the concept of the customer journey map that was born. And there was this idea that if we could understand the customer journey and the journey that they take with us, we could look at all the ways they interact with us along that journey, and we could accelerate them and make the journey go faster for them, and also lead to more leads, better leads, more conversions, and more purchases and renewals for businesses. But there's kind of a funny thing that I've come to realize over the years, and that is that our customers are not really on a journey with us. Okay, so let that settle in for a second. But ask yourself, am I on a journey with Google? Am I on a journey with Apple or Amazon or with my bank or my insurance company? Now, do we consume products and services? Yes. Do we have a relationship with these companies and service providers that offer these products and services? Of course. Do we have an affinity towards different brands, restaurant or hotel chains or airlines? You bet. But are we on a journey with them? You may disagree with this statement, but I don't think so. In that way, the customer journey is actually more for companies and employees. It's a great conceptual model that serves as a starting point that helps us think about how we're going to fulfill our customers' needs and address problems from their perspective, from the outside in. Ironically, for customers, it's not really about the journey at all. It's about the destination, the end goals that they have, the outcomes that they want. And I suppose I could hit a controversial nerve with that statement. You might be saying that some customers prefer certain brands because of the experience that surrounds the product, or more and more customers are purchasing experiences. And you'd be right. And I don't think what I'm saying really conflicts with that, because ultimately that's what the customer wants. That's the end goal or outcome that they want, is that experience surrounding that brand or that product. Customers prefer the brands, the products, and experiences that make it easier and more enjoyable to reach their destination. So do I think it's worthwhile to map the customer journey? Absolutely. I think customer journey map works great as a design tool that can really serve as a starting point for us to understand and start to address the needs and the pain points that customers have in order to help them achieve their goals. And I've worked with a lot of companies over the last 5 years, and some of the main reasons that they come and ask us or ask me to help them map the customer journey are these 5 that are listed here. And they may not say them in these words. I'm kind of putting words in their mouth and interpreting what they're saying, but some of these reasons are better than others. The first one is kind of that it's trendy, it's popular. So paraphrasing or interpreting what I'm hearing from customers is, I'm hearing a lot about customer experience. I'm hearing a lot about customer journey mapping. It sounds interesting and cool. We should probably try it. Second one is around the scorecard. We have NPS today on our scorecard. Do we need to replace it with a customer experience metric? I like these other 3 reasons better. And again, I'll kind of paraphrase what I think I hear from my clients. On prioritization, they say, we need to be able to make improvements based on customer feedback, but we have finite resources and budget. We need to be able to prioritize and figure out which improvements we should actually make. Taking action, maybe they're going to redesign their website or re-engineer their sales process or their marketing tools or their support tools and processes. We need a way to map the current state journey and the future state journey to be able to redesign those things. Or maybe they've said, we've used outside consultants before to map the journey, but we really need to do this work ourselves internally. Let's get an internal team trained so we can build CX muscles and make this a repeatable process. And as a CX coach, what I really want to be able to do is get clients towards taking action. It's what we're all trying to do, is really to be able to help our organizations and our clients take action. So with that in mind, I'm going to offer 5 reasons to map the customer journey. First, we need to know what our customers' end goals are, what outcomes they want. So Clayton Christensen, Harvard Business School professor, he was the author of The Innovator's Dilemma, and he basically said that customers hire companies, products, and services to get a job done. And his jobs to be done theory has actually gained a lot of traction. In his book, Competing Against Luck, He asked the question, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to move around windows. Hopefully they're not getting in the way of the screen. He asked the question, I wonder what job arises in people's lives that causes them to come to this restaurant to hire a milkshake. And by the way, not every milkshake buyer hires a milkshake for the same reason. For some, it's a way to treat themselves. For others, it's a nice way to spend time with their kids. Christensen was surprised by the variety of answers he heard from commuters who went to the fast food drive-through for a milkshake before their morning commute. And I'm going to quote one of these customers. This milkshake, it's so thick. It easily takes me 20 minutes to suck it up through that thin straw. Who cares what the ingredients are? I don't. All I know is that I'm full all morning, and it fits right here in my cup holder. So understanding the outcomes customers value enough to take the first step in their so-called journey is the first reason to map the customer journey. The rest of the list flows from that, and these are equally important. What are the steps that they take? What or who do they interact with to make progress towards their desired destination? What obstacles slow them down? What gets in their way or causes them enough pain to make them look for an alternative path? If you've been involved in or followed CX for a while now, you know that customer perceptions and emotions are a key element of the experience. We've all heard that perception is our reality. As irrational beings, all of us make decisions about what we buy and who we buy it from based on the thoughts and emotions we associate with a particular company or brand. Not to mention positive or negative word of mouth when we share our experiences and feelings with others. So customers can get their milkshake, but if the drive-through line is 30 minutes long, or the cup is covered in a sticky mess, or the drive-through attendant is rude or drops the milkshake in their lap, when do you think they're going to go back for another milkshake? What do you think they're going to say to their friends? We do need to know more about what customers are thinking and feeling and how they want to feel as they interact with us in pursuit of their goals. And of course, we want to hear from customers what will make this experience easier and more enjoyable for you. All of these insights will help our organizations answer the question, what do we need to do? What do we need to improve in our products and our interactions to remove obstacles and make it easier for customers to achieve their goals? So we all know there are a lot of ways we can gather, analyze, and act on customer feedback. So before I hand off to Monica, I want to tell you why I keep coming back to Digsite for online qualitative research. This first one isn't really completely unique to qual research. If you've ever been involved in an internal customer journey mapping workshop, you know there are some inherently valuable aspects of bringing together a cross-functional team to leverage their collective expertise and knowledge about customer audiences and their biggest pain points and needs across the customer lifecycle. But when it comes to actually implementing changes based on the team's internal perspective, especially changes requiring moderate to significant new funding, it's not uncommon for the secondhand customer journey insights to be considered soft. Qual and Quant help bring outside-in customer feedback that strengthens the case for funding improvements. What Qual brings more than Quant is the ability to tell the customer's story in their own voice versus eye-glazing numbers, charts, and graphs. The second one is critical. Close-ended survey questions answered by hundreds of survey respondents do a great job of helping quantify in a statistically projectable way things like customer satisfaction and perceptions about the importance or performance of different known aspects of the customer experience. Online qualitative tools like Digsite are flexible enough to gather quantitative feedback, but they also go a step further with a variety of ways of eliciting rich qualitative feedback about why. Why are they satisfied or dissatisfied? Why do they think or feel the way they do? What would their ideal experience look like? These kinds of rich responses go a long way toward helping uncover unknown root causes of their needs or pain and ways to address and solve them. On this last one, let's face it, our executives, managers, peers have a short attention span. Many a CX improvement initiative has died on the vine due to a long, expensive research phase. Stakeholders and team members lose interest or have to move ahead with decisions long before a 6-month customer journey research project is finished. And research can be expensive, especially through outside research firms. One might question why so much budget is going toward researching the customer journey instead of actually fixing customer issues. That's why online qualitative research is so attractive. You can get relatively inexpensive insights in as little as a week, and internal teams can start acting on those insights right away. With those cost savings, the funds can be used for ongoing research, iterative insights, or even be reallocated towards implementation. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Monica now for more about Digsite.
All right. What I thought I would cover is not specifics on Digsite, but just some understanding of what the different online tools and technologies are today that might be different from what you have used in the past or what you've experienced even in the past few years. Because to be honest, things are changing really, really quickly in the online qualitative space. So a couple of areas just wanted to kind of talk you through. The first one has to do with the idea of a research sprint. So we have technology out there that does, deep, immersive, ethnographic, qualitative research. Started with bulletin board, groups way back in the day. A research sprint is a little bit different from that in that it tends to focus more on trying to make a very specific set of decisions. So some of it can be exploratory, but give you the opportunity to iterate with a customer over a period of time. And so oftentimes what we see happen in a research sprint, and specifically for CX research, is that there are some online activities that happen where we are collecting information either retroactively on their experience at each step while they're in the process of the experience, right? And capturing that information, or even setting expectations and trying to understand the jobs to be done. But sometimes you actually want to dive even deeper with a particular respondent or set of respondents. And so platforms now have the capability to schedule live video interviews. And those may be 15-minute or 30-minute shorter interviews because you've already collected a lot of information online. So rather than thinking, oh, I have to schedule this very long interview, you can kind of pop in to schedule that interview right in the midst, and then really come out of that with some ideas on maybe how to improve the process and take that back to the group. So you're getting a lot farther within a much shorter time period by kind of designing and setting up your research in this kind of sprint and design sprint kind of model. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about is this idea of kind of heat mapping. So, heat maps have been around a long time. A lot of quantitative heat maps and a lot of heat maps and platforms allow you to just see, what people like or dislike. But there's a lot of qualitative richness in platforms today where you can actually not only set up something for people to look at those different areas within an image, but actually to have them write comments on those specific areas to give you feedback, and then creating kind of sections within that graphic to let you instantly analyze. And in fact, within Digsite, you can actually set it up to auto pin the most relevant quotes, or you can go in and manually kind of pin things as you read through them and kind of get an instant report back. And so this graphic here shows you a bunch of different brands that people are able to kind of give a top line kind of reaction to their experience of it. You can put timelines in here, lots of other kinds of activities that allow people to express what's happening along their journey, points of satisfaction and dissatisfaction. And Daniel will show you a little bit of this in his example kind of moving forward. So next thing I wanted to talk about from a tech standpoint is video screen capture. So tools like user testing have been around a long time, but a lot of them are, wholly unmoderated. So you can set up an activity, you can have someone screen record, talk while they're recording their screen through an experience. However, many companies don't just have digital experiences, right? You not only are going to a website, but you might also be physically going to a store, consuming a product, calling customer service, whatever it is that you're doing. And so what the newer technology is doing is embedding that video screen capture capability within a broader platform so that you can basically step through, hey, I want you to talk about what you're doing. Now I want you to screen capture while you're doing something. Now I want to follow up with a video interview. Now I want to follow up with that same participant, again, over that sprint time frame. So it gives you more flexibility to go between moderated and unmoderated activities throughout the course of your research. And this can be, happening over a day or a couple of days, rather than thinking about it as I have to do research project A, and then I have to do research project B, and then I have to do research project C, sorry, as Daniel said, and that can kind of suck up a lot of time and resources, as opposed to kind of building it all into one study. And then the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is video interviews, video questions themselves. So rather than just capturing the screen, we have the capability to ask video questions so people can record their face. They can also record their cabinetry, their refrigerator, their usage experience, or whatever. And we have that built in with a scheduler too. If you want to schedule a live interview, you can do that as well. And what's really cool with how the technology is changing is all three of those use cases, whether you're recording a screen, whether you're asking someone a video question to answer on their own, or whether you're having automated scheduling for a live video interview, there are now analytical tools that can help you automatically through the process. So the last thing I want to share is kind of some of those capabilities that are kind of part and parcel and embedded into tech platforms today. So one is the fact that all of your videos will be automatically transcribed, and not just the computer transcription that's like 80% accurate, but actually automated human transcription, which means that the computer generates an initial transcript, a physical person reviews that, corrects it, makes all the edits so that it's 99.9% accurate, puts that back to you sometimes within the matter of hours, usually within 24 hours. And then what you have is a kind of a library of videos with all the transcripts embedded, and a whole bunch of analytical capabilities layered right on top of it. So for example, on the left side of the screen, you see the theme and sentiment analysis, which basically lets you look at all the keywords and phrases, what percentage of them were said positive, neutral, or negative, and then you could actually click in on that and see the exact video quotes, the text of that, or watch the clip reel associated with that. So that gives you a whole bunch of ways to analyze your video much faster. The other part of it is as you're reading transcripts from individuals. So, when you think about qualitative research, usually we want to see, what Jim or Julie or whoever had to say. You can watch the video, but you know how difficult it was if any of you've done this kind of analysis in the past. It takes hours to watch that, then go back through and code it, and then create clip reels. Well, in this case, basically what you do is you just read. You can read on the screen if you want to go back and reference something. You can grab a sentence. You can say, save that to the clip reel, and it'll actually find the video associated with that sentence and build it into a clip reel. And so really, basically what happens is the kinds of information that you can get through asynchronous activities, asking questions and having people mark things up, can be combined with transcripts out of video into one single report and video clip reel to go along with it, as opposed to thinking of those as two different studies or two different projects. And that's really, streamlines the CX process. It takes costs out of the process, and it makes it much more timely to get these kinds of insights and act on them in the organization. So I think with that, I'm going to turn it back to Daniel, who's going to kind of share with you a very specific use case that hopefully will help you guys kind of imagine what this might look like for your organization. So go for it, Daniel.
All right, thanks, Monica. So just for the next few minutes, I want to share an example of a recent project where we applied the jobs to be done and journey mapping techniques, leveraging Digsite to really understand what was going on with real people. The client we were working with was interested in developing education and employment services geared toward individuals who wanted to develop new skills, get a better job. While the client had several education and certification offerings available, they wanted to gather customer feedback to help inform new offerings that could help these career changers explore new skills, career opportunities, network with peers, potential employers, and apply for, interview for, and get hired in a new job. And ultimately, the qualitative research would produce a persona profile for our target audiences, journey maps visualizing the current and desired experience, and a backlog of prioritized user stories with experience blueprints to inform initial designs and implementation that could bring these offerings to life. So with planning and preparation, some dedicated CX team members and a willing and available cross-functional team, it is possible to complete this work in just a few weeks. We're going to take a little bit closer look at each week, but at a high level, we're looking at week 1, hypothesis, recruitment, research design. Week 2, online discussion moderation. Week 3, analysis and visualization of those insights. Week 4, prioritizing a backlog and beginning to design and implement. All right, so week 1, admittedly, there is a lot to do in this first week. Ideally, key stakeholders, core team members would be coming in with an idea of the target audience and the journey they want to focus on. Now, because customer experience cuts across typical organizational silos, every CX improvement or initiative or an innovation initiative is better off when you involve a cross-functional team, especially in creating a preliminary hypothesis about the customer journey. So a customer journey mapping workshop, you may have attended one of these before, but that can be conducted in 4 to 6 hours for one audience and their journey. In parallel, a researcher is going to be working on identifying and recruiting customer contacts who can participate in the research. And that could either be through an internal customer database or a third-party panel provider, including Digsite, I think has that service. In our projects, we typically try to begin recruiting by a Thursday for an online discussion that would be scheduled to begin the following Tuesday. At the same time, the researcher is going to begin programming a series of activities with a variety of different tasks designed to elicit the types of feedback and insights that we've been talking about today. And this could seem like an overwhelming amount of work to do in a week. What I've described here reflects what's possible when your team has established a more repeatable process with dedicated team members, or when you enlist an external CX partner. Now, I spoke about each of these insights categories on the milkshake slide, but it's important enough to bring it up again, especially in the context of designing your Digsite activities and tasks. So Digsite offers a variety of task types, some of which Monica talked about. It's a good idea to change things up, but to balance that with some consistency as well that makes it easier for your participants to share and provide feedback that we need to understand the goals, the journey, and what we need to do to improve the experience. Whichever task types you choose, these are the 5 insights categories that we really want to elicit from participants. So the jobs, what job are they hiring your product or service to get done for them? In other words, what goals or outcomes are they trying to achieve? The steps, what steps or stages do they go through in pursuit of their goals? Obstacles, what barriers slow them down? What are the pain points that they're experiencing? Emotions, how does their experience make them feel? What aspects of the experience cause negative thoughts or feelings, and why? And ideal, what does their ideal experience look like? Are there any examples of competitors or other experiences that are ideal that we could learn from? A combination of conversation style tasks, fill in the blanks, whiteboards, voting tasks, surveys, plus the video screen capture and interviews can produce powerful, rich insights in a short amount of time. All right, so week 2 is really all about then moderating the activities in the discussion so we can prompt rich feedback and probe deeper in key areas and follow up with using some of the tools that Monica mentioned. There's obviously more than one way to run an online discussion with pros and cons for doing things differently for different projects. What we've found is that a 3 to 4 day online discussion with 18 to 25 participants in a group engaging in 20 to 30 minutes of program tasks and follow-up each day produces useful insights across a broad set of topics. Where possible, we try to get our clients involved in observing the discussion, and it's always good to hear from clients how excited and interesting it was for them to engage and see or to see the customers engage in the discussion and read some of their comments and feedback firsthand during the live moderation. All right, week 3. Now Digsite produces out-of-the-box reports, which are really great, for quickly sharing the key insights with stakeholders and team members. In the CX work that we do, we typically take our analysis a step further and produce visual research reports in the form of a persona profile and a journey map. There's really no right or wrong way to do this, and there's really no end of possibilities for taking customer journey insights and making them interesting and visual and consumable. But it can be possible to go overboard and spend too much time on that, so I'd recommend keeping it as simple as possible. And it really comes down again to those key insights categories: the jobs to be done, steps, obstacles, emotions, and ideal experience. All right, now with the insight sprint completed, what comes next is translating those insights into actionable requirements and designs that an implementation team can take and execute on. At this point, it's super helpful to have strong CX or business analysts involved who can write well-formed problem statements, requirements, user stories, which can then be triaged and prioritized in a backlog. But there is something to be said about collaborative, cross-team, co-creative design. My personal preference is to run multiple 5 to 6 person working sessions where we can review the insights and build on those insights through a combination of exercises like solution ideation, storyboarding, and blueprinting. Those are all good topics for a future webinar. All right, over the years, I have observed a lot of teams who have adopted some kind of an agile project management and execution model for iteratively designing, testing, and releasing new and improved features or experiences. And these teams typically start with their overall vision, strategy, and a roadmap. They create a prioritized backlog based on market or customer insights. Then they'll go into a series of sprints and work increments to implement the key elements of the product or experience. They'll connect those and launch them together after several sprints. What I see a lot less is teams who have figured out how to consistently and repeatedly leverage customer feedback and insights to inform their designs. So I'm going to show you one way that you can think about bringing together agile insights with agile design and execution. We'll call the start of any given sprint T-0. So if we back up from there, let's say that we need to lock on a prioritized sprint backlog 1 week prior to the beginning of that execution sprint. Now, teams with dedicated CX researchers and analysts can run 3 to 4 weeks ahead of that, of the implementation sprints with an insight sprint, which then informs and helps refresh the prioritized backlog. Now, obviously, these parallel efforts have to be tightly coordinated with team members who are focused on each step of the process, who can hand off or receive the insights in a format that they can actually work with. All right, I want to wrap up with a few tips for getting started. First, start small and stay small. Now, it can be tempting to want to solve the customer experience for as many target audiences as possible across many scenarios, many problem areas right out of the gate, and I would encourage you to avoid that temptation because as your scope multiplies, it's inversely proportional to your chances for success. In other words, when you have really big scope, you probably have lower chances of success. So start with maybe a single audience and their journey and defend and protect that focus scope if you can. Second, involve stakeholders and cross-functional team members in the process. The customer journey spans multiple departments, so when you involve stakeholders from each department, they begin to feel a sense of ownership for the pain points that the customers have and also the solutions which need to be implemented to overcome them. Third, and maybe you've heard the phrase, perfection is the enemy of good. I'm going to go with don't let great get in the way of good. Okay, so figuring out how to do this customer experience stuff will take a little bit of trial and error to get it right in your organization. So don't let fear of failure stop you. Consider any and every outcome as an opportunity for learning and refining your process. Fourth, I've emphasized this a few times now, CX and customer journey research is a little different than market research, segmentation research, brand research, and UX research. The key things to focus on in customer journey research are the jobs to be done, the steps they take in their journey, the obstacles that they run into, how that makes them feel, and what the ideal experience would look like. So don't be tempted to expand your research to other topic areas outside of this. This will be more than enough to help you understand the customer journey, what is working, what isn't working, and how to improve it. And the last tip is really related back to keeping your scope focused and small. The more you stay focused, the more useful the insights will be, the sooner and faster you can act on them. What we want to be able to do is shorten the distance between insights and action and keep it as short as possible. And we can't do that if we try to make our research answer everything for everybody. So speed is important, time is of the essence, and all of that said, when you do this the first time or the first couple of times, it's more important to do it right, to learn and to refine. So don't rush. Over time, you and your team will get better. You'll be able to establish a repeatable process that is the right size for you and your organization's needs. And that brings us to the end.
Great, thanks, Daniel. So now we're going to open it up for any questions you guys have on what you just saw. We've had a couple come through, but feel free to submit any you have. The first question we have is, I think this is for you, Monica. I would love to understand these tools, for example, video analysis, if they're available on mobile also.
There we go. Sorry, I was muted there. They are. So platforms like Digsite are device agnostic, which means that it works on computers and mobile devices. Sometimes you actually need someone to test just on mobile or just on a computer, and we can set it up to do that as well. So a lot of platforms do have that capability. Some have specific mobile apps that are mobile only, but our platform is designed to really work across all devices. What we find is about a 50-50 usage between mobile and computers. And what that comes down to is if you ask someone a follow-up question in the platform, which by the way you can do, right? They might get a text message or an email that they'll get on their phone and they'll respond right away. If you ask them to do an activity that might require some thought, they might prefer to do that in their jammies. So they might do that at night on their computer. So it really, they kind of go back and forth depending on what you want them to do. And you have to think about that a little bit when you design and set up activities. How much breathing room do you want to give that participant to complete that activity? Sometimes what we're doing is getting quick feedback on ideas, and that's very easy for them to do any time and place. Sometimes we're asking them to capture experiences more in depth, and they're going to need to be in the right time and place that they would normally do that activity, and therefore you might have to give it a little bit more breathing room to get that to happen. So those are all kind of considerations, but we think the device agnostic approach really works really well for participants in their lives and how they live their lives.
Great. Daniel, looks like we got two questions for you. The first one is just someone wondering what the poster behind you says, and the other one is where you find people to recruit and invite into your online communities.
Yeah. So the poster I actually had printed for this occasion, it says it's not the journey, it's the destination. Which is supposed to be a kind of a play on I think the Ralph Waldo Emerson quote that says it's not the destination, it's the journey. But in my work, I think I talked about this before. It's what are we hiring these products and services to do? What outcomes do we want? So we really need the experience and the journey that we create for our customers to be in service of the end goals of our customers, and make it about how we can help them achieve those goals. Let's see, the second question was around finding people to recruit.
Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of times we'll work directly with our clients and get access to, have them work to get access to their customer database so that we can find and make sure that we're talking to the right people that fit the profiles of the audiences that we want to speak to. And sometimes we just don't have access to those sources, and so we'll work with third-party panel providers and including Digsite, who has access to a panel of folks that we can recruit.
Yeah, and a couple of the things that we have done Site Intercept to recruit people, and we've also done LinkedIn or Facebook, I'm sorry, I guess both and either outreach to identify people. So sometimes that's through the company's direct website. Sometimes it's just hard to get past legal teams, and we can use Digsite's more social find approach to find people online with specific behaviors to participate in your study. And then as Daniel said, we also have a panel of folks that are profiled that we can use as well.
Great. Another question is, do tools like Digsite support both qualitative and quantitative research? and what is the best way to combine them?
This is a really great question, and an area that we're finding is really valuable for companies, and that is sometimes you really need to dig deep, and you guys all know that really kind of ethnographic rich approach, and sometimes that's really talking to 6 people. That seems to be the magic number. Even sometimes in sprints it'll be, well, we're going to talk to 6 people to get 5 completes, because we want to really go deep. As Daniel said, if you're really trying to map a journey or understand jobs to be done, you probably need to talk to more like 25 to really make sure that you've kind of captured the realm. If you know you have multiple target audiences, you might have to do that among each target audience. You might not be able to do that across everybody. But then you've got sometimes more of this semi-validation. In other words, you have some early ideas, you want to prioritize some things, and you might want to talk to 100 or 125 or 75 or somewhere in there. We do a lot of that at Digsite as well. Sometimes we'll change up the activities and the design of activities so that it's very quick and easy to analyze that kind of data. So it's not surveys, it's not quantitative, but it's not maybe as ethnographic as everybody is going to go spend time taking video in store. So those are things that we'll kind of manage with clients. And we've been looking at and investigating other ways to help with that transition between qual and quant. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely reach out to me afterwards, and I can tell you kind of some of the things that are on the horizon.
Great. Another question for Daniel. What tools do you use to create your visual personas and journey maps?
Yeah, good question. And, I think the short answer is we're primarily using PowerPoint and Excel for those things. There are other tools out there. And as a personal, opinion, investing and spending a lot of time visualizing the journey has diminishing returns. And so what I typically advise and try to do myself is produce a nice visual that people can grok and kind of see the story of the customer as they go through that journey, but don't overinvest in that. And so get to the action, get to the solutions, the pain points and the solutions, and how across different team members and organizations, people can put their heads together and figure out ways to solve those for customers. So get to the action versus spending a lot of time trying to come up with the perfect visual.
Great. And it looks like we've answered everyone's questions, but if you guys have any other questions, you can follow up with Monica or Daniel directly if you have any more after the webinar. So Monica and Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, everyone.